Friends, I am back with my another rubrics, and it is unfortunate feeling. Many a time we struggle between the fortunate, whether we are fortunate or not. We used to talk like that, but this time a patient is there that he feels himself to be unfortunate. So it is a word that originates from the Latin word infortunis, meaning ill-fated, unlucky, deprived of fortune or good outcome. On in means no, and fortuna means fortune, luck, and destiny. So people used to talk about I am whether I am lucky or not. है ना. So Indo-European root is a beggar that to rise, to prosper, and indirectly contribute to the conceptual formations of fortune as success or prosperity. Therefore, the absence of fortune psychologically implies a fall, decline, or inability to rise. In classical English, between 13th to 15th, the unfortunate was denoted as one person who suffers continuously from the adversity, and one who feels condemned fate, and one deserving pity due to the circumstances. So, in homeopathic language, especially in repertorial interpretations, unfortunate does not merely describe unlucky circumstances, it reflects a deep inner state where a patient identifies herself as doomed, ill-fated, a victim of destiny, or incapable of escaping misfortune. So this rubrics capture the inner self-perception, not as an external. Now, in the homeopathic perspective, we shall try to understand the mental symptoms, quality of consciousness, that is emotional climate and inner reaction. When we speak of unfortunate, it refers to the state when the patient believes that their destiny are bad or unlucky. They feel deprived of good luck or constantly oppressed by misfortune. They internalize adversity to such an extent that it becomes the part of their identity. Their speech and life narratives revolve around the self-pity or a sense of inevitable. Yesterday we have heard about the self-pity. So it is closely related to that rubrics. And this capacity for hope, initiative, or resilience becoming weak. So this state may arise when childhood neglect or repeated failures in the patient, and then chronic illness causing loss of confidence, and socio-economic hardship, and cultural influence emphasizing destiny of fate, and miasmatic background affecting emotional tone. And rubrics is deeply linked with the resignation, hopelessness, self-accusation or self-blame. And victim is a mentality, guilt or shame, and fear of future. So the remedy usually reflects victimhood, negativity, grief, suppression, and despair. Our European homeopaths, they call it as a melancholia, also deep sadness, fatalism, belief of destiny governs all events, and religious guilt, that is misfortune or divine punishment. And before modern psychiatry, unfortunate was seen as temperamental trait that is born unlucky. A patient used to see that I am a born unlucky person, a moral failing in inviting trouble, and metaphysical truth. Though fate is written, they used to say, "Oh, it is everything happens in the destiny." By the 19th century, the French people described the patient who damned by the fate or unworthy of good events. And British physician linked chronic misfortune perceptions to neurasthenia and constitutional weakness. German psychological school connected it with the grief structure, loss of ego, strength, and inferiority feelings, that is the proto-Aldrian idea. And Hahnemann recognized this mental state in his description, soric despair and fear of future trouble, and syphilitic self-condemnation and psychosoric victim in mentality. Hence, the rubric this rubric resonates with the universal human psychological response to repeated failures, loss, chronic disease, and the deep trauma. In the historical context, Indian culture, religion, and societal structure gives a rich layer of the meaning that unfortunate in Indian tradition. Concept of Durbhagya, Durbhagya in Sanskrit, the word meaning is bad luck, unfavorable destiny, and lack of divine grace and misalignment with the cosmic order. That is cosmic order. And ancient Indian described the people suffering as दुर्भाग्य due to past karma, है ना, आपका भविष्य पहले आपने अच्छा नहीं किया उसके लिए हुआ. And lack of righteous living, you are not living in a proper way, lifestyle disorders, and anger or jealousy of others, and malefic planetary influence. And influence of karma and destiny is also concepted. Many patients in India interpret repeated illness, poverty, and family conflict as my fate is bad, God does not want me to be happy, karma is punishment, and nothing good happens in my life. So this rubrics we must understand that within the culturally enriched psychology and social and economic dimensions in Indian society, people labeled unfortunate, often belonging to the oppressed group, suffers chronic illness and loss of breadwinners early. Suppose someone who is the breadwinner of the family and he died, and that is taken as unlucky state, and face financial hardship and experience social rejections like the widowhood stigma, infertility, and deformity. Psychological features of this unfortunate is the core belief that I am destined for sorrow, and emotional tones are persistent sadness, fear of future misfortune, sense of being burdened, shame or guilt about failures, helpless, low resilience, and hopelessness. And cognitive pattern catastrophizes whatever I do, it goes wrong. Selective memory of negative events and underestimation of the strength. They don't recognize their power, and feeling personality responsible of all losses, and comparison with others who are fortunate. And behavior patterns are like the avoidance of challenge. They will not take up the challenge, dependency on others, withdrawal of or passivity, and excessive prayer or rituals. Seeking sympathy and recognizing tragedies repeatedly. And interpersonal dynamics is that such patients look for reassurance yet rare accept it, and feel unworthy or of affections, and expect rejections, carry a mournful presence, and sometimes manipulate sympathy unconsciously. These conditions in the clinical practice you can see in those patients who are commonly present with the chronic depression, PTSD, cancer, or long-standing pathology chosen for misfortune, chronic poverty, relationship failures, victim of domestic abuse, recurrent miscarriage, job insecurity, disability, or deformity. And in homeopathic case taking, the state is revealed through the tone of hopelessness and narrative filled with the bad luck and perception of self as poor me, and deep internal suffering with no positive expectations. So, as a homeopath, we must identify the frequency and emotional charges being behind the sentiment, whether the patient views unfortunate misfortune as an external accident or internal fate, curse, or the karma. And physical symptoms often associated with that: fatigue due to the mental weight, loss of appetite, insomnia from worry, hormonal imbalance, and especially in women, and hypertension due to chronic negative stress, and poor immunity. In mental patient expression, the patient typically says, Doctor, I am unlucky person. I am born unlucky. Nothing good even happens for me. God has written sorrow for in my fate. I think I must cursed. Everyone around me progresses, but no, not me. And there is darkness in my destiny. My life is a burden. Why only me? I don't deserve happiness. Whatever I touch goes wrong. So these their face, body language and tone carry heaviness, resignations and subdued energy. Now you can cross-reference this rubrics with the despair and hopelessness. Hopelessness it is often associated with this misfortune and overlap with that. And then self-pity. Yesterday we have seen they will always blame themselves. And then helplessness feeling, unfortunate precedes helplessness. That means unfortunate feelings comes and then helplessness comes. And unfortunate is misfortune follows me. And hopelessness, I cannot change anything. Then sadness and melancholia, broad category, but unfortunate is a very brings a fatalistic flavor. And deserted feelings. Some patient feels unfortunate because they have been nobody to support them. And miserable feelings closely associated in patient identifying life as a tragedy. And mind fears of misfortune. It is anticipatory and unfortunate and mind cursed feeling. A strong rubrics and patient feels that they have been supernaturally punishment is there. Remedy that you can see within this rubrics, some of the rubrics medicines I am trying to explain you, like nitric acid, feels persecuted by fate, carries deep grievances, believes destiny is hostile, complains from long injustice of humiliation and strong fear of future. Natrum Mur, repeated heartbreak makes them feel unlucky. Silent suffering and resignations attract sad events and dwells on past misfortune. And Psorinum, extremely hopeless. I am forsaken by God. God has deserted me, and fear of poverty, future and collapse. Constant anticipations of disaster and dirty, broken, unlucky self-image. Aurum metallicum, patient feel condemned, unfortunate due to perceived failure, weight of responsibility leading to the self blame, and want to die or escape from ill misfortune. Then in the Arsenicum patient, they feel alone and unfortunate, fear of being ruined, and anxiety about future, perfectionist who sees life in negative lens. And then Sepia, they feel helplessness and unlucky in domestic burden, neglect from family intensifies unfortunate and feels unloved, not unnoticed. And Pulsatilla feels unfortunate mainly due to the emotional neglect and cries easily when describing the misfortune and need consolation. Causticum feels socially oppressed, unlucky, believes fate makes them fight injustice endlessly. And Ignatia, unfortunate due to the emotional shock, feels sorrow as destiny and silent grief and inner despair. Lycopodium is like that. They feel unfortunate because life repeatedly challenges them. Fear of failures dominate their thoughts. So you can find many more rubrics, medicines under these rubrics. And then mental miasmatic state, Sorrowful, feel unfortunate because of insecurity, poverty and fear of failure. Typical statements, something bad will happen. Syphilitic patient, they will say feel cursed, doomed, destroyed, strong suicidal thoughts and sense of irreversible misfortune. Psychotic patients will feel unfortunate in social comparison, shame, inferiority and self-condemnation and sense of being deformed or inadequate. And tubercular patients feel in misfortune due to the repeated failure, restless, dissatisfied, and wanting change, and no place feels right. Then cancer mild will also feel unfortunate because of the perfectionism expectations and high self-pressure and belief life does not reward their effort. Identifying these rubrics during the case taking, observe the narrative, how the patient speak, they have the loss stories, past trauma memories, comparison with others, and fatalistic language. Then observe the non-verbal cues, sighing repeatedly, downcast eye, shrinking postures, and slow molding tone. And you can ask some questions like, do you feel life has been unfair to you? Do you think your destiny is different from the others? Do you expect good things to happen in future? Or do you attract misfortune? So you can explore layer by layer by revealing, going into his past history like childhood neglect, repeated failures, chronic illness, social oppression, and broken relationship. So long-term pattern, if the patient has built identity on misfortune, the rubric is strongly indicated in that case. So the rubric's mind unfortunate is not merely a description of bad events in life. It reveals the patient's fundamental relationship with fate, destiny, and personal worth. It reflects the identity formed or by adversity, self-perception as lucky, cursed, doomed, or deprived, psychological resignations and emotional hopelessness, spiritual or moral guilt, and cultural narrative of karma, destiny, and punishment. And clinically, it is important indicator for deep-seated pathology. During case taking, we must look for repetitive misfortune narratives, fatalistic language, lowered resilience, sorrowful personality, miasmatic correlations, and related rubrics of the self-pity should be compared with. So the rubrics are this rubrics is very important. So ultimately, understanding these rubrics will help you to understand the deep psychological layer of the patient also, and it will open the doorway to offer the simillimum medicines. So friends, I have tried to give you the details explanations of this rubrics. If you have any, you want to listen it in Hindi, you can go through the YouTube channel also, where I post this rubrics in the YouTube channel also. And this rubrics is also posted on the YouTube channel. So my YouTube contains many more rubrics like this. So friends, with these words, today I conclude my session, and I hope you will find it useful for your clinical practice. Thank you very much.